Good morning to you. I'm Danilo Evangelista, and welcome to our tropical weather outlook video for today, Saturday, July 5th, 2025. On today's discussion, Tropical Storm Chantal has officially formed off the southeast coast out of Tropical Depression 3, which formed yesterday. I'm going to go over the latest you need to know, including potential impacts to the Carolinas coast because there are tropical storm warnings in effect. But the biggest issue will not be the winds. As I've been saying with this storm, it will be the heavy rainfall, which will be a huge issue across portions of the southeast throughout this weekend, heading into early next week. I'm going to go over all of that information for you today. So fasten your seatbelts and let's get started. Starting off with the National Hurricane Center homepage. The latest advisory as of 11 a.m. Eastern Time has just come out minutes before I started recording this. I'm literally recording this at 11 a.m. on the dot. Maximum sustained winds are 40 miles per hour. Minimum central pressure is 1,007 millibars, and it is located at 31.1 north and 78.7 west. This is moving very slow. It's almost at a complete stall. It's only moving north at 1 miles per hour, and this will probably continue to move very slowly and ever so slightly inch its way to the Carolinas coast. Probably going to make landfall in South Carolina early tomorrow morning. I'll show you the track in just a minute, but we officially have Tropical Storm Chantal, the third named storm of the Atlantic hurricane season. And it actually was named earlier this morning. The 11 a.m. advisory is not the official advisory where this thing got named. It got named at 8 a.m., I think, but still 40 miles per hour as of right now. And really quickly, just to show you in the Eastern Pacific, there's also activity, but we're not really going to talk about this much. But we do have Invest 96E here. And this is very likely to become a tropical depression and probably become our next tropical storm before all is said and done. In the Eastern Pacific, National Hurricane Center gives this an 80% chance of development. And then the gravy train of activity in the Eastern Pacific continues. The National Hurricane Center highlighting another area right now with a 20% chance of development. But obviously our biggest interest is Chantal, which is off the southeast coast here. And you can see it certainly looks like a tropical storm. Certainly looks more like a system than Andrea and Barry did. Has quite a bit of convective activity and thunderstorms, especially weighted to the eastern side because there is quite a bit of wind shear cutting across this storm. I think wind shear is around 20 knots, and the low-level center is somewhere displaced to the west here of all the convective activity. Which means that most of the rainfall will be over portions of central and northern South Carolina and along the coastal areas of North Carolina. But either way, this is going to bring a lot of rainfall to the southeast. And regardless of how organized this thing is, it's still a tropical storm. And I think it probably will organize some. I mean, it depends on how much the wind shear relaxes, which I think it will a little bit. We probably could see some intensification from this. Wouldn't be surprised if this gets to 45, maybe even 50 miles per hour. But this is a tropical storm nonetheless. And as I also mentioning with this, and I've mentioned with this over the past several days, the biggest threat from this storm is not the winds anyway. I mean, we will have 40, 45 mile per hour, maybe 50 mile per hour winds and, maybe slightly higher gusts. But the rainfall will be the biggest threat. And I'll show you why in just a moment. But Recon is in there right now. Let's really quickly update it. Yeah, they did a center fix, 1,008 millibars, but I think the dropson found support for 1,007 millibars. So the National Hurricane Center went with a pressure of 1,007 millibars. And Recon is also finding quite a bit of flight level winds here at 40 knots and higher. So that definitely supports the strength of a tropical storm. So we know for a fact that this storm is a tropical storm, and it probably will stay a tropical storm up until landfall here. Once again, along the South Carolina coast, and we actually have tropical storm watches and warnings in effect. And let me actually really quickly read those watches to you. A tropical storm warning is in effect from South Santee River, South Carolina to Surf City, North Carolina, and a tropical storm watch is in effect from Edisto Beach to South Santee River, South Carolina. So keep in mind of those watches. Stay away from the shore and make sure to stay indoors. But again, the wind will not be the biggest threat. There will also be storm surge to South Santee River from South Carolina to Surf City, North Carolina, 1 to 3 feet. Edisto Beach, South Carolina to South Santee River, South Carolina, 1 to 2 feet. And the rainfall as well will be an even bigger issue. The key messages here, they say tropical storm warnings expected, but the second point and the third point here that I think are the biggest ones to keep in mind out of this system. Heavy rainfall across the coastal Carolinas will cause some flash flooding through Monday. Isolated to scattered flash flooding could occur with more urbanized areas in the coastal plains of the Carolinas. And Chantal is expected to bring life-threatening surf and rip currents along the coast from the northeastern Florida to the mid-Atlantic states. And this is also something that a lot of people tend to forget as well. Rip currents do and can take lives, and we've had many, many instances in the past where rip currents have taken the life of people because they were not careful enough. And rip currents will not only occur along the Carolinas coast where Chantal is going to make landfall. It's going to be widespread all the way from northern Florida to the mid-Atlantic. So a very widespread area of danger along the beaches. And I know especially a lot of people, because it is a holiday weekend this weekend, are at the beaches. So please keep in mind of the rip current risks too. Do not find yourself in a dangerous situation. And that's also another impact that a lot of people don't talk about. And another one too is the rainfall. And in fact, I'll show you this is the map from the Weather Prediction Center excessive rainfall outlook. And for the next 3 days, the Weather Prediction Center, there's a slight risk of flash flooding for portions of northeastern South Carolina and southern North Carolina, which includes Wilmington, North Carolina, which is a pretty high populated area. And that obviously has a major impact too. As I always say, rainfall is the #1 killer when it comes to tropical cyclones. And then we have a general flash flooding risk. It's a marginal risk, but 5% is not 0%. And that extends all the way from the South Carolina coast and encompasses a pretty decent portion of inland eastern central North Carolina, and even extends up to portions of southern Virginia. So widespread areas that will see heavy rainfall from Chantal, and that is the biggest threat when it comes to this storm. Do not let yourself get caught off guard. There's also an instance in Texas which has happened over the past several days of the remnants of Barry, and a lot of people have been talking about this online, and that brought very heavy rainfall to portions of inland central Texas, and that was the remnants of Barry, but it was not making landfall, and dozens of people lost their life. And it's been a really devastating situation with what's happening in Texas, and it just once again goes to show the biggest risk when it comes to tropical systems, even if they are not organized, powerful hurricanes. It's always the rainfall, and it's always the most underestimated risk. So keep in mind over the next several days here as Chantal moves inland. And I'm just going to really quickly show you the GFS to show you how this all plays out. Chantal will probably get a little bit more organized. It is dealing with shear right now, which is why most of the activity is kind of weighted to the eastern side of Chantal, but again, that's going to bring lots of heavy rainfall to portions of the South Carolina and North Carolina coast, so again, don't want to diminish that. It'll probably make landfall late tonight into early tomorrow morning along the North Carolina coast. Let me actually see when the National Hurricane Center expects landfall. They expect landfall 8 a.m. tomorrow morning along South Carolina. So this still roughly has slightly under, I'm going to show you that in a little bit. This still has just slightly under 24 hours before it makes landfall. And we'll probably see some intensification, I'd imagine. Wouldn't be surprised, again, if this makes landfall as a 45 to maybe even 50-mile-per-hour tropical storm. But once again, remain laser focused on the rainfall. The gusty winds will obviously be a factor since this is a tropical system. But the biggest threat will be rainfall, especially because as this moves inland, you can see here, it hangs out around the southeast all the way from Monday into Tuesday, and it's not till late Tuesday into Wednesday when the energy of Chantal finally gets out of the southeast and then gets booted off to the northeast, out to sea in the Atlantic, and it's probably because of some other trough energy that's probably over the northeastern United States, and then eventually that gets kicked out of here, and then moving on out into the next week, the tropical Atlantic remains quiet, and we probably won't have to talk about or worry about much when it comes to tropics, at least in the Atlantic, after Chantal moves out. But it is interesting, though. I do want to point this out. On average, climatologically speaking, we typically don't see our third named storm in the Atlantic till August 3rd. So Chantal, which formed today, is pretty much a full month ahead of schedule in the Atlantic basin. So very interesting, and it definitely supports the idea of this year being an active season, which I've said all along that this year was going to be more active. And here we are now on the 5th of July. We already have our third named storm in the Atlantic. Right now, well ahead of schedule by a full month. And you can just imagine how much more active things will get, especially as we get towards the peak, because we have a very warm Atlantic. We will not have an El Nino this year. I think these little storms, as little as they might be with Andrea and Barry and even Chantal, which is obviously also going to be our first official landfall for the United States for this hurricane season, as small and as weak these storms might be, I think they are a sign in general that the Atlantic will not be slow this year, especially that we're talking about Chantal on July 5th. And just till you wait till we get to August and September, I think the activity will be very active, and it probably will surprise quite a few people. But let's get through Chantal first, in which with that, I will have more updates throughout the day today. Right here on YouTube, I might post another video this evening, so stay tuned for that. And if you are just finding my channel for the first time, make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you can get videos the moment I upload them, especially if I decide to do a video later this evening. And get updates all throughout the day on Twitter. Follow me at Danilo Evangelista, same name as I have here on YouTube. With that being said, thanks for watching. Going to wrap it up for today, or at least for now. Enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe. Peace, love, and kindness to you all. I'll be back with more soon.